All righty. Beautiful pink skies over Washington.
That's beautiful. It's like
gorgeous. I'm distracted by it.
There, I love it. That is very beautiful.
Happening inside?
Almost beautiful.
Not so much.
As the magical world that Republicans are living in inside of their heads. It must be wonderful to live there, except for poor Lindsey Graham. Willie is sad figure. Lindsey Graham. It's interesting, in my column yesterday in the Washington Post, I commented about Lindsey just briefly. Here's the guy who's the chairman of the Judiciary Committee. You heard him screaming there about, oh, this is horrible. They want to take this man down. It's just the worst thing. This is what Lindsey Graham said about Donald Trump back before Donald Trump was in power, back before he was president of the United States, back before he thought he was going to be president of the United States. He once declared Trump unfit for office. He called for his exclusion from the Republican Party. He said the Republican Party should kick Donald Trump out. And he tweeted that the best way, this is Lindsey Graham, the guy you just heard screaming, saying they just wanted to keep him out of office. Lindsey Graham said the best way to make America great again was, quote, tell Donald Trump to go to hell. That's what Lindsey Graham said. Tell Donald Trump. Lindsey Graham, tell Donald Trump to go to hell. He said he was unfit to be president of the United States, unfit to be commander-in-chief, that it was troubling how much he was complimenting Vladimir Putin. And then, of course, this same governor from South Carolina had the audacity to compare the impeachment of Donald J. Trump to a lynching. He called it a lynching. Now, I don't know which Lindsey to believe because, of course,
there's a lot of them.
There are a lot of Lindseys there.
It's got to be exhausting.
Go and watch Sybil tonight. A lot of personalities flying around with Lindsey Graham. And South Carolina voters, they could be forgiven for not knowing which Lindsey they're going to get after the election because he just changes all the time. But the majority of Americans, though, I don't think this is, quote, a lynching. They don't think it's people going out. Like, the overwhelming majority of Americans want a fuller trial, want a fairer trial, want relevant witnesses, believe Donald Trump obstructed this investigation, believe that Donald Trump abused the powers of his office. 63% of people under 30 in America think Donald Trump should be impeached and removed from office. I say all this just to say, to follow up, Willie, on what I said yesterday. They're living in an echo chamber like the Romney campaign lived in an echo chamber in 2012. And it's going to end really, really badly for them and all the little Trumpists that are running around trying to play to an audience of one. This ends badly, Willie. And all you have to do is look at the polls in front of our faces to see that.
Well, Lindsey Graham certainly is not alone on the list of Republicans who went after, in very personal terms, candidate Donald Trump in 2015 and 2016. And then when he became president, I'm thinking of Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz and others, they hugged him very closely. It's amazing what power in Washington will do. I think that's not surprising to hear Senator Lindsey Graham attack the process like he did yesterday, saying Democrats are trying to destroy the American presidency. But when we talk about some of those people that you've talked about who are in tough elections right now and may want to take this process seriously, you have to look at somebody like Thom Tillis. And Senator Tillis of North Carolina came out yesterday, posted a video, in fact, to Twitter where he wrote and said, quote, "This sham impeachment is a waste of America's time, and the people of North Carolina are getting tired of it." So for the people who are holding out and hoping some of these Republicans will sit and hear the presentation by Adam Schiff and the House managers and suddenly have a come to Jesus and an epiphany and say, you know what, the president ought to be impeached, I think you'll be waiting in vain when you see somebody like Thom Tillis making the comment he made yesterday.
Yeah, well, I mean, Thom Tillis is going to be waiting in vain for independent and swing voters, Tom Nichols, to support him. Here's a guy who's been sitting in the low 30s in approval ratings for most of his career in the United States Senate. He barely won when he ran last time. And you've got Susan Collins, who's sitting, she's underwater. Joni Ernst is underwater. Cory Gardner is underwater in Colorado. And, man, he's getting pounded in the head-to-head matchup there. Martha McSally underwater. Thom Tillis underwater. And four of those five, Tom, have approval ratings mired in the 30s. And yet these people are still blindly following Donald Trump, a guy who the majority of Americans want impeached and removed from office. Explain it to me, because I don't. As Denzel Washington said in Philadelphia, explain it to me like I'm a fifth grader, because I don't understand.
Where are they going to go? They've already let go of they're like a trapeze artist halfway across to the other guy, except that Donald Trump's not there for them. They've taken the leap. They've had to go to the wall early on. I mean, this is a phenomenon we've seen with these so-called moderate Republicans, where they think, I just have to defend Trump a little more, and it can't get worse. And then it gets worse. And they say, well, if I just go one more inch. And pretty soon they find that the only people that they can rely on are the base, which, of course, on something like this is starting to shrink. And McSally, in particular, did that kind of weird hostage video where she tried to come across as very Trumpy and very angry. But I'm not sure that that's convincing anybody. But I think, Joe, the answer is, what else are they going to do? What other choice do they have at this point? They've committed.
Well, Rick Wilson said that Trumpism is not scalable. It's not. Obamaism wasn't scalable, just like Reaganism wasn't scalable. Reagan had a specific set of talents that he could, carry through on. Bill Clinton, the same. Barack Obama, the same. And Donald Trump, the same. It's not scalable. And John Heilemann, when somebody like Martha McSally tries to be Donald Trump, it's embarrassing. And, yeah, she may raise a couple of dollars that day, but all she does is gin up opposition to her to such a degree that her opponent's going to raise even more. So explain to me, you're in Iowa, explain to me why Joni Ernst, for instance, somebody that I think a lot of us around the table had a lot of hopes for, why Joni Ernst, who served this country proudly, said she was going to take care of the squealing pigs at the trough and cut spending. Of course, the deficit has just exploded under Joni Ernst since she's been in Washington. The national debt's at record highs. The pigs are at the trough like never before. The biggest bloated government budget in the history of the United States under Joni Ernst. And an explosion of spending unseen since Joni Ernst has come to Washington, D.C. But explain why Joni Ernst would blindly fall in line with Donald Trump in a state that really still seems to be a swing state. In 2018, Democrats picked up quite a few states. It's not like he's popular there.
Nope.
Well, Joe, I think that Joni Ernst is among these many senators is in a bind for sure. I think she looks at, and I'm not trying to credit this analysis. I think it's a tough call for her purely on the politics, but she looks at Donald Trump in 2016 when he won the state, not by a little. He won it by 9, 10 points in Iowa. And she looks at that and says, if there's going to be big Trump turnout, as most analysts think there's going to be in 2020, we all assume it's going to be a tight general election. In a state like this, a state that he carried by 9 or 10 points, she's looking for Trump coattails. And whether you think, I agree with you, about the scalability question, but Joni Ernst thinks, and there's a big debate about this in Iowa about whether the state can be clawed back into the blue category. It's true that 2 congressional districts here got flipped to Democrats in 2018. There are some Democrats who think that with the right candidate at the top of the ticket, this could become a blue state again. But I think Joni Ernst is making her bet. And of the various vulnerable senators you put up on the board just now, I think she's maybe the least likely when the chips are down, when she has to vote on the key question of witnesses. She's probably the least likely to feel the political that the politics push her in the direction of having a real trial than some of the others on that list.
Despite the fact, Yamisha, both she and Donald Trump are upside down when you look at the polls. And go to Colorado. Cory Gardner still blindly following Donald Trump, despite the fact he's in the re-election